The shortest of the family, the three-door Defender 9-0 can accommodate 6 or 7 people, 2, 3, in front and 4 in the back on a pair of benches placed parallel to the sides of the body. The 110 models were 9 and 12-seat, 3 and 5-door. At the same time, the most dimensional version on the 2 front rows provides for the landing of 3 passengers, and 6 rear ones are placed on uncomfortable longitudinal benches. Getting into the car through the rear end door, as well as loading luggage, is inconvenient. The opening is narrow, low, and located high from the ground. Defender with the 130-inch base is found only in the form of a pickup truck with the 205-6 cab. Aluminum, from which the SUV body panels are stamped, like steel, is subject to corrosion, and not all specialists can straighten and weld it. The visibility from the cabin is not bad, but for tall drivers the seat adjustment range is insufficient. The efforts on the controls are moderate, although they still cannot be compared with the passenger car. In left-hand drive versions, the pedal block is strongly shifted to the left, and there is practically no room for the left foot. The front seats are very close to the sides. The creators claim that this solution helps to feel the dimensions of the car, but, according to practical users, this interferes with active steering. The most common Defenders with turbo diesels are 4-cylinder 2.5-liter, 113 horsepower, 265 Newton-meters, and a more modern, since 1999, 5-cylinder TD5, common rail, 2.5-liter 122 horsepower, 300 Newton-meters, borrowed from Discovery. Gluttonous carburetor engines with a volume of 2.3 liters, 65 horsepower, 2.5 liters, 75 horsepower, and 3.5 liters, 2 carburetors, 116 horsepower, are practically not found in our country. Nor can we find a newer injection V8, 3.9L, 134 horsepower, 251 Newton-meters, designed for the American market. A limited edition of the anniversary equipment with a 4.0-liter gasoline engine, 182 horsepower, 314 Newton-meters, was distributed around the world. Ukrainian specialists in maintenance of DEFA have not yet encountered the overhaul of diesel engines. Their fuel equipment is adapted to low-quality diesel fuel. You just need to avoid getting water into the tank. Motor sensors with the common rail power system can fail owners, and its control unit is prone to accumulating errors. But you should not be afraid of this. It is very easy to erase errors. It is enough to remove the terminals from the battery for 5 minutes. This engine is afraid of overheating. The camshaft for Defender engines is driven by a chain, whose durability is commensurate with the resource of the entire power unit. All Defender engines are designed in such a way that they can be serviced even in the field. The Defender transmission is found in 2 types, either with permanent all-wheel drive and a lockable center differential, or with the forcibly connected front axle and locking center differentials. The Razdatka has a reduced range of gears. Some versions were equipped with an electronic traction control system and a hill descent assistance system. In combination with the high torque and flexible power unit, this makes the off-road qualities of the car a reference. There are very few like her. Experienced Jeepers advise not to pay attention to the backlash in the transmission when there is a loud click when starting and braking. This is the specificity of the Defender driveshaft crosses, and it is characteristic even of young specimens. The resource of universal joints of the shafts, they do not need to be syringed, depends on how intensively the owner starts off and how fast he drives, and is 50 to 150,000 kilometers. Crosspieces are replaced separately on lifted machines, and there are many of them. Due to the increased angles of the joints, the shelf life of these units is also reduced. The oil in the transmission units must be changed every 60,000 kilometers or every 2 years, then they will seamlessly run hundreds of thousands of kilometers. However, excessively zealous drivers still manage to break the transmission on difficult off-road conditions. The clutch serves up to 250,000 kilometers even with intensive use. Front axle CV joints, at least 200,000 kilometers, but on condition that their rubber anthers are intact. The backstage of the gearbox and the handouts are sometimes clogged with dirt, which disables the oil seals and sliders, so the switching mechanism must be washed at least once a year. Brakes with front ventilated disc and rear drum, rarely also disc, mechanisms, ABS possible, correspond to the dynamic capabilities of the car. To push the pedal properly, you have to make a lot of effort. The front brake pads serve about 20,000 kilometers, the rear ones, up to 40,000 kilometers. The front and rear suspensions of the SUV are dependent, spring-loaded, with large strokes. The chassis absorbs bumps in the road well, but allows significant rolls during maneuvers, and if you drive over rough terrain, it can break. Rubber metal bushings of the front levers nurse up to 120,000 kilometers, rear, up to 60,000 kilometers. The elastic bands of the panhard transverse link installed at the front axle are enough for the same amount. The life of a single ball joint mounted on an A-arm is unlimited, unless its boot was torn when dismantling the arm. All 4 shock absorbers with a resource of 200,000 kilometers are extremely tenacious, although their bushings may wear out earlier. After about the same time, suspension springs sag, and wheel bearings serve up to 150,000 kilometers. The steering is reliable, as well as a large turning radius and the need to catch the car at high speeds. If oil flows from the worm gear along the steering shaft, then the previous owner lost the protective screen installed under the engine and dirt got there. Since 1990, the car has been equipped without fail with the trouble-free hydraulic booster. Its pump can outlive the engine if every 60,000 kilometers or every 2 years the hydraulic fluid is changed. The damper built into the steering linkage makes it easier to control, but some owners, after the breakdown of this expensive unit, do without it. To be honest, this is the same UAZ, only truly reliable and with a legendary biography. It is inappropriate in the city, and it is not dudes who buy it, but real men, those who live and work in nature. Moreover, extreme athletes and true fans, for whom 2 or 3 tens of thousands of greens are a mere trifle.